Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to the new moon reading. So, we've got a new moon in Scorpio here. This is kind of it has that feeling that we've been kind of noticing already, really showed up in yesterday's reading. That feeling of new doors that are opening to you in this energy. So we're going to take a closer look at that and just kind of see, especially from a soulmate perspective, what does that actually mean? So it will be a general reading for this collective as always. So it's not going to resonate with everyone and it shouldn't resonate with everyone. But if it does resonate with you, consider subscribing, consider looking at some of the other messages that have come through for you. There have been some pretty awesome ones, and they've all been very much connected. The readings are all very much connected. This will be our main deck as we move through them. It's kind of amazing because when I first came out on YouTube, I did not make the assumption that they would all be collectively like one collective set of readings, and I ended up kind of gradually moving that direction because it became very clear as I was doing pickup piles that all of the piles were just different points on the same timeline. Like we would get the exact same circumstances. So, like I said, today we're going to look at that Scorpio new moon and just kind of see what the energy around it is. The first thing that we're going to look at is that energetic and emotional backdrop that's kind of surrounding you. So we've got a Four of Cups. Ooh, Four of Cups in reverse. This is the ability to be a little bit more engaged. So this is the ability to be surprised, to be amazed. It's the ability to have awe. And then we've got the Six of Cups in the reverse. Now, this is about not being scared of what has come before. The Six of Cups is often a card of nostalgia. And in this case, it's a card of nostalgia and memory, but it's the idea of not being afraid of what's in the past, not being living in fear of what's in the past, and having that capacity for awe, which honestly is kind of, I think we stopped there, a kind of an exciting place to start with this energy because it shows a certain openness we saw in yesterday's reading. And I can't remember how much of this was in the extended because it was just like one big story that kept unfolding and giving us more information. But one of the things that was coming out here, it was about, I guess, let me just see what else shows up. So this is about the manifestation that was showing up in yesterday's. We had so much of the energy of this moon showing up in yesterday's reading. So we've got the Hanged Man, still some things that we're working through. The tower concept showed up repeatedly throughout yesterday's reading as well. There were multiple towers, and they're at least the ones that you're experiencing seem like they're fairly pleasant, still going to change the way that you see things. And with this Hanged Man in the reverse, there's still a sense of not having all the answers, not having everything that you need to understand in order to truly understand everything that's going on around you. But that doesn't mean you can't navigate it. So there is a sense of newness, there is a sense of awe, and being able to move into a new feeling, a new concept, with the Six of Cups not being so impacted by what's come before and able to come up with kind of a new feeling. However, there's still this messenger of air, and I was going to say, I get the sense that this is not you so much. This feels more like your person. So, but I feel like it's unexpectedly your person. So basically, they think that they're capable of certain things with regard to reaching out to you. When they get there, they recognize that they have more fear than they had anticipated. So it isn't so much that they don't reach out. And we saw that in yesterday's reading. But what we do see here is it's that same feeling that we were getting like way back in April of this past year, of this year. And a few times since then, the concept of them reaching out and then having kind of no idea what to do when they get you on the phone, when they get you communicating with them, they kind of don't know how to take it from there. There's this sense of not being sure. Um, but so they're going to be like saved by the Hermit energy. They're not ready for this, and we see that with the Empress in reverse, but we also see the Hermit in the upright. Like they are going to, I think they're going to make a better save than what it feels like. So uh, another concept that came up in yesterday's reading was that they feel like they botched this communication with you. For those who are able to make communication, and it is going to be a fair number of them, they are not ready for ultimately what comes. This is a concept that we keep seeing, but not necessarily completely unprepared for it. And so they take that. They're able to take what they learn in this and go off and, I guess, utilize a little bit of that wisdom that they've been sort of building on. This is a person who's been doing some growth and some changing as well as you. And so I will still consider them, I would still consider them not as far down the road as you. Definitely they are being impacted by some other things that are happening in their lives. So we have the Three of Water here. It's about the expression of energy, the flow of energy, the ability for emotion to flow, but it is also in this case reflecting some of that third party energy. Three of Water, that Three of Cups energy for us here in this collective has been showing up as third party energy somewhat frequently recently. And I remember there was a time when it didn't show up, like the cards were not yet ready to talk about it. A lot of this has to do with what we're seeing here with the Two of Fire, though. So the Two of Fire is another one. This is like the Two of Wands. It's been showing up since the very beginning of these readings, but it is now showing up very differently than it once did. So whereas the Two of Fire was often for us coming in the reverse, saying that there was an emotional distance that needed to be traveled between the two of you, but they were incapable of traveling that emotional distance because they required a realignment of their values. And it's one they had been working on. What we now see is this Two of Fire frequently showing up in the upright. Sometimes when they're feeling a little weak, it'll still show up in the reverse, showing up as an excuse that they are prepared and used to hiding behind. Like they're prepared to hide behind it and they're used to doing so. Here, though, the reason that it's in the upright is that they have mostly made the shift out of that set of values. And that's another reason why we're seeing the Three of Cups all of a sudden. And I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but here over the last little while coming up, reflecting that third party pretty frequently. And the reason for that is because things have changed with them. So now things have changed with this third party, which is another thing that we've consistently seen in these cards. It's really been coming up, I would say very consistently over the last few weeks, maybe the last couple of months. It's been something that, like, we would have the occasional third party, oh, let's check in on it. And then all of a sudden, for a while there, it was like a rash of nothing but energy around that third party that wanted to come through in these readings. I still think we see a fair amount of it. So here we have the Five of Earth in the reverse. And I love this because, again, it has that sense that we often see with the Five of Earth in reverse, where there's been some healing in the area of what I like to call the big three. So that's going to be that fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal. If you watch me often enough, you'll have heard me talk about this. But this is healing in that area. So again, this feels a lot like their energy. Now, we know also that you've had a lot of healing in this area, but this card is more specific to them. So this is just kind of what's happening in this backdrop of the energy. There's that sense of this energy of healing being very important to them at this time, particularly as it results or as it has to do with this third party. If we were going into the extended, and I'm not going to do an extended on today, I oftentimes do not extend the moon readings, and today is no exception. I'm going to go ahead and leave it just kind of as it is. Sometimes we do, but I don't think that's what I want to do today. Maybe we'll talk about this third party, depending on what else comes out here in this reading, and some of the healing and the change, the shift that's happened here. But I also think we've seen a lot of this as it was happening. So let's see what else you need to understand about this moon energy, this energy of new doors basically being open to you, doors that were previously not open to you. So you've got the Lover's card in the upright. Okay, so oftentimes you've been getting the Lover's card in the reverse, and it's been all about, hey, I get what this bond is. I just don't feel like I have any choices about it. So here, it's got a little bit more of a feeling of you having some choices around it. Not necessarily that you're both going to take those opportunities, but just that those opportunities exist. So you've got the Hierophant card here. All right, if you interact with this person, be prepared for things to get a little bit real. So there is still, and we've seen it in the energy here lately, we've seen it kind of rising. The energy of them wanting to reach out and communicate with you has been very high. Many of them have done it, some still have not. That energy of resisting it, it varies, you know, so the energy of wanting to reach out varies, so does the energy of wanting to resist. And so what we've been seeing, like yesterday's energy showed low resistance, high desire to reach out, which means there's a chance that you're going to hear from them, and not everybody will. But with this Lovers card in the upright, this is an increasing number of you who will, and it's kind of absurd, honestly, the way that it feels. But this Eight of Pentacles, another feeling that kind of was reflected in yesterday's reading. This is a sense of self-mastery, and really what it is, it feels like emotional self-mastery to the point where you both feel steady enough to be vulnerable with one another. I don't know if it happens all in one shot or if there are multiple tries that it takes to get to the vulnerable piece, but I feel like with this Hierophant it happens, and this is sort of a recognition of that bond between the two of you. And again, a concept that we've seen, once that conversation takes place, there are some things that you just know from that point forward, and they're no longer something that you can deny. That's in this energy of this new Scorpio moon. Scorpio has a tendency to be a little bit on the intense, and it does a lot of self-work. It's water energy, heavy on the emotions, but the emotions are, the way that they're expressed is pretty special for when we're in Scorpio. So we've got the Seven of Earth here. This is about investment, but it feels like investment in the self. We've got the Seven of Earth, investment of the self, and Page of Water, which is communication. And this one actually does feel a little bit like an apology. So we've got Messenger of Water coming up right behind that Page of Water, and there is heavy communication in here, as if we didn't already see that, but this is heavy communication with that vulnerable aspect. And I just wonder, like, they're not ready for it yet. We saw that with the Empress card. We also see it here with the Six of Fire in the reverse. Six of Fire in the reverse is the sense of not so much, it's not the that you don't succeed in the battle, because in the Six of Fire in the upright, it's like a Six of Wands. It's victory after a long battle. When we see it here in the reverse, it doesn't necessarily mean failure. It's something that we've seen before. What it's looking like to me here is a battle that isn't over. So lots still going on as this communication comes through. This feels gradual to me. So it feels like you get a communication from this person that seems doesn't seem as big as what you would expect, but it's got an element to it that is a little bit more on the vulnerable side. And this Page in Messenger of Water is suggesting that it's what they want also, not just something they feel compelled to do, although we know that it is also something they feel compelled to do. What I'm seeing here with the Seven of Earth, though, is a new sense of them feeling like this communication actually furthers something for them, maybe for you both. It's it reminds me of a feeling of kind of moving things on to a next step. So it has almost that Wheel of Fortune feel when you put all of these cards together. We do have the Strength card in the reverse, though, so you can expect some of those fears to show themselves, which that is absolutely not surprising to me, given the level of vulnerability that I feel in this energy. You may see, I mean, I understand that some of them are not even going to have the strength to reach out, but some of them will get as far as reaching out and then will start to fall prey to the fear, and you'll see them starting to retract fairly quickly, because this is a person who gets emotionally flooded relatively quickly as well. And we've seen that. We've definitely seen that through the time that I've been on YouTube, but especially here lately, in the last couple of months where we've seen them increasing that capacity for emotion, it shows them flooding and then kind of increasing a little bit, and then they retract like we see, and then that their capacity is steadily growing. It's just a very slow process. So we've got this Four of Air. Four of Air in the reverse is about healing that still needs to be done. And it's about like they constantly feel like they need a rest. Even if they have a rest every other day, there's this feeling that they need a rest. But here we have the Three of Fire. Again, it's coming through as like a perception that they've got a long way to go, but haven't even begun the road to like this investment. I don't think that's entirely true. I don't think they're recognizing some of the distance that they've traveled, that they feel like they've invalidated a little bit with some of their actions. And we've got this King of Fire that says that there's this, so the fear and this King of Fire, the Strength card in the reverse is essentially like a fear card for me, because it's the fear card or the Strength card never happens in a vacuum. This is always a matter of strength winning out over fear or vice versa. And when it's in the reverse like that, it feels like fear winning out over the strength. So that has a little bit of it creates a little bit of feedback in this person. They have a tendency to want to try and exert control over a situation when their fear really starts to come out. And so we see an element of that starting to happen here with the King of Fire. Just be prepared for that. It's like you're going to start to feel a little bit like this whole situation comes out, looks really good, and then starts to go sideways. Just realize it's kind of going to be a more of a gradual approach than that. You may have another period of separation in there. You may have a couple of periods of separation in there, but your person is on the move as far as their healing is concerned. We have this Nine of Water also, which is a little bit, so this is part of the reason that you don't see them moving quickly. They're figuring out what it is that they want. So we know with the Nine of Water, we've seen the lessons of the Eight of Water, Nine of Water, and sometimes it's cups, but it's Eight of Water, Nine of Water, 10 of Water. Eight of Water being figuring out like that you have to go on this quest to figure out what it is that you truly want and what constitutes your wish fulfillment. Nine of Water is understanding what that wish fulfillment is. 10 of Water is what do you do when you come face to face with it? Figuring out like what to do, because the last time your person came face to face with wish fulfillment, they turned tail and ran. Okay. And you, last time you came face to face with it, you pursued. So one of the things that I think is really special about this collective is that a lot of you, you have this runner chaser dynamic going on, but you're not doing so much chasing. So this is a collective of folks who isn't doing as much chasing maybe as you could be, and seeing that, it just feels like there's an element with this of moving to that next step. I'm really still feeling that that Wheel of Fortune in this, which is that moving to the next step. It's maturity, gradually maturing. This Empress is going to get turned into the upright where you do feel like you're ready for things. But right now, it's both of you not quite feeling ready. Let's take a look at, and this is like my favorite part of the reading, I think, these days. It is always entertaining to see where the other person is, where the divine masculine is. But I think at this point, we have so many of you that are focused on your healing, focused on your next step, focused on the opportunities that are starting to erupt into your lives. And some of you are already hard at work on the thing that's going to set your soul on fire. It is actively setting your soul on fire, and you can absolutely confirm for the rest of us, it doesn't take this person off of your mind, but it does make you feel like you're coming back to yourself a little bit, because all of a sudden, instead of putting all of your energy towards something that's not really panning out for you, you're suddenly putting a fair portion of your energy towards something that is. And it just kind of, it enlivens all the rest of this, and it all very much impacts everything in your life seems to be impacting everything else. So I guess the question that we're asking here is, what does your focus need to be in the timing of this new moon, which is a little bit before, a little bit after, certainly today? What do you need to be focused on given what's on this table and the energy of the new doors opening with this full moon? What does your area of focus need to look like? And I've mentioned it before. I've got some of you who fast forward to the last portion of these readings, because you're no longer as focused on the energy of this person and now much more focused on just the energy of your own healing. You're always welcome to do that. However, I would say there are sometimes some messages around your own healing in here. So if you feel like you still kind of want to watch it, it makes sense. There's going to still be some good things in there, even if most of it you're saying, I'm ready to move on from this person and I'm just here for the lessons at this point. So you have a Nine of Pentacles here that says you may feel a little bit of wavering in yourself. You may be, for example, feeling like, hey, I'm only here for the lessons. I'm done being, going back and forth emotionally with this person. And then the next day you wake up and you realize that's not the case. You were feeling more resilient the day before. And you may notice that comes and goes. It's okay. That's part of this. It's every day being a new day. And in fact, every hour is a new hour. So even if you notice it wavering during the course of the day, it's okay. The idea is to stay the course. That's the message that wants to come through from this. So we've also got the Seven of Wands. Hang in there. You've got this. There's very much a feeling of fighting for what you want, but fighting for what you want beyond the things that are associated with this person. So this is more about building the energy of your own life and the affirmations that you can give yourself. So we have a Knight of Wands here in the reverse. Be aware that you have a very attractive energy around you, but it's a special kind of attractive energy, and it is attracting a certain kind of person. And this kind of person is on the edge, just like your person here is on the edge of discovering some things about themselves. So you may notice that they have a tendency to be a little bit in and out with the energy, people that you're interacting with. Not even just your person. Could be people that you're interacting with even in your own family. It's a fascinating energy, a fascinating way to feel. But your focus is, honestly, is to feel it all. Like, get in there and really feel it. You're in a position where you now can. This is the recognition. Three of air. It's recognition, understanding how you can use what you've already learned in the past and what you've already felt in the past. So with this Nine of Air coming out with it, it's got this sense of like previous heartbreak coming up for you. But like we keep seeing, the majority of the pain in these situations is in your past. So this comes up, but it doesn't really feel as heartbreaking. You all of a sudden realize that you have experienced this, you've worked through it, you are not feeling the anxiety with it that you once were. And it all of a sudden just hits you. Like and I feel like it could happen in this moon energy. But if not, then I feel like it's not far away. It's this feeling of like you wake up one day, and we know that with the Nine of Pentacles in the reverse, you've got the stay the course energy. You've got the some days you wake up super solid, other days you wake up feeling not so solid. Hang in there, but you're getting to a place where you're going to start to recognize the progress that you've made. You're also going to recognize that you've set some things right without even realizing it. So enjoy that. I feel like that's going to be something very positive. I don't usually get super predictive with these sorts of things because I understand how much free will plays into it. So what I can tell you is kind of the direction that the energy is going, but not always, hey, here's exactly what's going to happen next, But here I do see you writing something that has been very wrong and not even necessarily realizing the true impact of your actions. You have the Five of Water. This feels like before you realize the impact of your actions, there's this perception of guilt or not having gone far enough, not having done something enough. There's a feeling, a perception of needing to have more integrity and needing to be able to explain yourself a little bit better. This is all going to go away when you figure out what happened here with this Justice card. You're going to discover that you were incredibly right about something, that you did something out of the goodness of your heart, out of feeling like it was the right thing to do. And it actually was really the right thing to do, but you won't know it until later. It'll be some time that passes. You'll spend a little time doubting yourself. So be aware of that. And just if you start to feel that self-doubt coming in, just recognize that it may you may not have the whole story. This really has that sense of Hanged Man in reverse, not having the whole story kind of feeling. So, okay, I wasn't sure if this was the next card or not, and I went ahead and put it back in. I'm always really trusting of that because I figured out that if the card is supposed to come back out, it will come back out. So we have the Eight of Earth in reverse. Um, this feeling before you figure out what's happening with this justice card, before you figure out that you have set something very much right, there is a sense of doubting yourself. And we've seen this one coming up in some of the recent readings as well, where you have senses of doubt or a sense of doubt about things. And then ultimately you get to a place where you realize, hold on, um, you'll piece it together. Like you'll piece together what's happened with this justice card and what you have set right. It's going to be a very pleasant thing. You also have this messenger of earth, which is energy I just love for you. I love this energy for this collective. Messenger of earth is solid, consistent, going to get the job done. It's a slow and steady energy. So the slowness can be a little bit frustrating, but the steadiness is absolutely gratifying. This is what leads to that catharsis that we feel in this tower. You know, we talked about there's a tower over here. It's been showing up in the readings. But there's this feeling of catharsis that comes along with it because there's this feeling of you actually really work for this. You have been working for this, but you're going to get to this place where, as we see with this three of air, that's sometimes that's a card that really means brokenheartedness and sadness, but instead in this case it's you remembering a situation of brokenheartedness and sadness, acting on it, fixing something, doing far more good than you even realize in this situation, and doing it in a place where you're not really sure about yourself. You've got some kind of going back and forth. So recognize when you get to the other side of this transit, you will look back and say, wow, if I knew then what I know now, I would be a lot more confident about things. I would be a lot more confident about myself. So just recognize that there's a good chance. And when you look back on different portions of your life, there are definitely places where you'll find you can already say that. So this is going to be one of those. And you'll want to recognize that on the front end, save yourself a little bit of trouble. Um, so let's jump in here. I feel like there's a strong need for you to exercise self-trust, almost radical self-trust. Like know that you're going to be fine and you're going to be the one that creates that feeling of being fine. Um, but I feel like after you figure out what's happening with this justice card, and this is all happening kind of in the near term. So this is something that you could already have had this impact and you're getting ready to figure out how positive it was because this is where your focus is supposed to be given the rest of this. So be waiting for it and recognizing you may be being harder on yourself than is absolutely necessary. All right, so we're going to get you an oracle card, and I love pulling this deck out, this moon deck, pretty much anytime, but I love especially pulling it out when we have new and full moon readings, so you'll notice it almost always comes out for those. Even if it comes out, like, so we've got a new moon in Scorpio right now, and that card could come out, but sometimes we get something that's incredibly complementary to the situation that is at hand, even if it shows up as, you know, a different phase in the moon. So what have we got? We have one that came in upside down. So we don't have anything yet that has turned itself over. Oh, here we go. All right, new moon, but it's in Leo. Confidence is your key to success. Well, that is incredibly similar to what we were seeing here. There's going to be some opportunity for you to feel a little bit less successful or to be worried that you're going to be less successful. You're going to end up feeling like everything is just fine by the end of all this. So realizing that, keeping that in mind here on the front end could make this transit a little easier for you. But this messenger of earth tells me it's going to be fine. Even if you spend a fair amount of time in here being nervous, being concerned about things, not realizing how much good you've done, it's not like you're doing a ton more damage to yourself in this process either. Even though you've got that energy of that Knight of Wands wanting to be attracted to you, I feel like you make short work of this and you handle it. You know what it is that you're looking at. You kind of know what you're dealing with, and you get to, you have the, and here the card says fortitude. You have that fortitude to be able to manage it, but you still got a little self-doubt going on. So be aware of that. Confidence is your key to success, and that seems completely like a great message. Great one to come out to encapsulate this. So, as we've got this new moon coming out, this new moon in Scorpio, there's kind of a lot going on. There's a lot going on between you and your person, energy of communication, energy of them feeling like that communication doesn't go as well as maybe you think it's going to go. So you may see some fear in them, but again, you really are attracting that energy. You're attracting breadcrumbing energy. So just be aware of that, and you've also done so much growing that you can handle breadcrumbing energy, because you're okay with just saying, all right, if you're doing that right now, I'm going to focus somewhere else, and it's a very healthy way that you're learning to look at things. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, I'm not going to do an extended on the end of this one, but with this new moon reading, it just kind of gives us a little bit of direction for the next few days. So I think tomorrow, based on some of the questions that we've gotten, we're going to take a look at what you're manifesting, what your person is manifesting. I feel like that's probably a question that's been coming up, and it's definitely something that showed up in like yesterday's reading, and I've been feeling it a little bit in this one, just a need to look at that. So I think maybe we focus on that tomorrow, unless you guys give me some compelling notes that tells me we need to look somewhere else. So I look forward to seeing you then in tomorrow's reading, and thanks so much for being here with me for this one.